And we are live. Welcome in. We are having some really hard, tough, raw, real, very triggering conversations around marriage, modern women, and millions. If you are a sensitive person, if you are not high consciousness, don't have spiritual intelligence, this may not be the best video for you to watch. Consider yourself warned. I'm gonna be dropping in some raw truths. So welcome in and let me know where you're tuning in from. If you would like to join the community and the conversation, you can hit the join button and have access to the live chat and exclusive content. So recently, I have been spending more and more and more time, as I'm sure you've seen in behind the scenes on my Instagram, time with really intelligent, spiritually awake and aware women, and having conversations that my soul has always wanted to have, and realizing some really important truths. So before we even start, let me introduce myself. As many of you guys know, that I am a human design projector. And one of my many psychic gifts is that I can take a pulse of individual and collective timelines and see exactly where the individual or the collective is headed. And based on my projector power, I can then guide people. And where we're headed now it's a little bit scary as I'm taking the collective pulse, especially when it comes to modern women and marriage and relationships. One thing I've been really realizing is how the internet is almost like its own planet. And as if we were to look at the internet as its own planet, or even look at it as its own country, Western people on the internet have the least freedom of speech. So I was born and raised in the United States, but I was born to Pakistani immigrants. And I have been this beautiful bridge between the Eastern and the Western culture. I have taken the best of the Eastern culture and the best of the Western culture and embodied it. And I believe that is the reason to my success in life. And when I say success, I mean in every realm. Not just success, I have money, but I'm spiritually broke. Not success that I have a nice house, but no one to live in it with. I mean, in every realm, humanly and spiritually possible, I have success using both Eastern and Western principles. And I'm going to share with you today some conversations that I've been having with some of my celebrity clients, some of my most VIP, most educated spiritually and academically people. And it's been such a breath of fresh air being able to have those conversations off of the internet. And that's actually what made me realize that as Westerners, we have zero freedom of speech. In fact, what's really interesting is a massive collection of people. Recently, there was a huge event, astrologically speaking, and all of us at the same time got a download to switch languages, to stop speaking English and go back to our own language. And I thought I was the only one. And then as I was talking to other people about it, I'm not the only one. And I have a lot of things to say about this that probably will trigger the hell out of people, but it needs to be said. And Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this in one of her books. I forget which one it was, that when a download is given, it's not just given to one person. Nature doesn't play. God does not play like that. It's given to many people at the same time, and whoever is tuned into the 99 realm will download that information. And I'm telling you, a whole bunch of us got the download at the same time to ditch the American language when it came to spiritual truth. Isn't that pretty disturbing? And so the one of the biggest reasons for this is because Western culture cannot metabolize truth. And what we've done now is we have brainwashed huge, like, generations of modern day women to fear marriage and motherhood. And I received a download about this in early 2024, and I had a very hard time with this download, if I'm being very honest, because one of the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing was waking everyone up to what was happening because I could see beyond the matrix. And then things happened in 2024, and I said I was doing exactly what God told me to do. Why did this happen? And then I noticed it happened to other people. I found other people that the same thing happened to who were doing similar things to me. And the message, when I prayed to God about it, was quite disturbing. I'm going to be sharing that a little bit later today. But let's start in the beginning. So as I've been going to more networking events, more celebrity events, having like deeper conversations off of the internet, I'm realizing that there is this huge split happening in the matrix right now, in the collective right now. And because of this split, huge chunks of people will be basically canceled by nature if they don't wake up. And some of these people that are being canceled by nature are trying to cancel other people that are speaking the truth. That's the scary thing. And it is my job to wake up modern day educated and spiritually conscious women. So I was at this event this week, and it was a business event, and there were amazing women there, and it was being taught by men. And as often happens at these events, when I start sharing my stuff, men will always say that, oh, that's never gonna work. You're never gonna make your first million. And then when I tell them how much I actually make, they're shocked because I make more than them using my feminine intelligence and my feminine gifts. But they can't often see it. And a lot of times what happens not a lot of times, 100% of the time, all of the women that came to that event to talk to these men, hear these men speak, they flock over to me. And they're like, oh my God, can we have lunch with you? We want to talk to you. And so I ended up going to lunch with a group of women, and it was so interesting because all of them have studied business with other men or women that studied with men. And so they were having these conversations around, well, we should do this, we should do this. And I said, may I please play devil's advocate? I said, that's not going to work. I didn't do any of that. And I didn't do any of that because I'm a woman and I have a female nervous system. And the male nervous system is a lot denser than the female nervous system. There's a physical nervous system, and then there's a spiritual nervous system called the light body. And as I started sharing some of my truths, their jaws dropped on the ground and they were like, oh my God, yes, that resonates. And like, if you are selling to other women, if you are speaking to other women, all of that stuff that works in the male domain will not work. In fact, it won't even work with men that are high consciousness because even they are more embodied in their feminine. They are more in the divine masculine and divine feminine. Kristen said, I got the download to study Arabic again. Then my former Arabic instructor started posting again on IG. Yep, Christian, um, groups of spiritually awake people are going to start ditching the English language because on the internet, I'm not talking about everywhere else, on the internet, Western people who are English speaking have the least freedom of speech because the people that nature is trying to cancel are trying to cancel those people that are speaking English. So it's really an interesting dynamic. And I'm going to be talking more about this in Kainat. So you'll be hearing more about this. I also got the really strong download at the same time all these other people did, like the same day. And I started a Urdu speaking channel because my body of work is more important than ever now about relationships and like divine energetics, and it needs to be spoken in a language that has freedom of speech. My culture has the most freedom of speech when it comes to divine truths. They don't play. That's why the women over there receive all these downloads from woman to woman. But you can't say a lot of those things on the internet in Western culture. The people that are being canceled by nature will try to cancel you. But here's the thing, the ultimate joke is their bloodline is ending. So it's only gonna 1 or 2 generations, it's gonna be over. There's gender confusion, they're pitted against men and women. And so let's take this conversation. I have some notes as they were coming in. I started making some notes. So what's happening on the internet? And this is a huge Western thing. Remember how I said that I'm a bridge between Western and Eastern culture? So I take the best of the Eastern culture and the best of the Western culture, and then I embody it. And then from that embodiment, I teach it. And one of the things that's been really interesting is I grew up thinking that my voice was choked and blocked because of the Eastern culture. That could not be further from the truth. My voice has been choked and blocked because of the Western culture. Western people want to be politically correct. They want to be liked, and they didn't receive a lot of things from in like childhood the way that is received in Eastern culture, and I didn't receive that either because I was born to immigrants, so I was raised in that realm more like a Westerner. I didn't have access to all of my relatives when I was a teeny tiny baby. It was more like the Western culture. And so I also fell in the trap of wanting to be liked and people pleasing and all of those things. And I thought that my voice was blocked because of me being from the Eastern culture, because we're sold this lie that Eastern women are oppressed. Actually, Western women are the most oppressed women on the planet. Here's why. They don't know they're oppressed. In Eastern culture, the women that are oppressed, they know they're oppressed. They can see it. They're aware of it. In the Western culture, the women are oppressed and they don't know that they're oppressed. And that's a dangerous mix. It's a very dangerous mix. So what happens when you come on the internet as a spiritual leader, as a teacher, as someone that's embodied and everything, and you start speaking, the lower consciousness people, remember that the devil, the opponent, Shaitan, always gets the lowest consciousness people because they're the ones that hook into him. When you start speaking, they go ballistic. They go crazy. They're going to try to cancel you. They're going to try to psychoanalyze you. They're going to be in the comments. And if you are raised in the Western culture, you're going to go, oh my God, I can't say this. And then you'll start watering down your message. The same thing started happening to me until God gave me the code that go speak Urdu. Go speak Urdu. And it took me all but 3 videos in my own native language to remember who the F I am and what I'm supposed to actually be teaching and talking about and to whom. And the code I received in 2024 that choked me and scared me was when I prayed out to God that, hey, I'm trying to help people. Like, why is this happening to me? And God was like, you're not supposed to save the people I have decided to cancel. It is not your job to speak to them. Nature has natural consequences. It's always had natural consequences. In our hunter-gatherer days, half our offspring would be lost to nature, and that there was nothing you could do about it. And just because we have better medical care now and better technology now doesn't mean nature doesn't do its thing. Nature is still about survival of the fittest, but now it's spiritual survival of the fittest. Because in the Western world, most of us do have access to some sort of medical care. We can Google what to eat, what not to eat, wash our hands, wear masks. We can Google a lot of that stuff. But spiritually, nature will still cancel people. And it is not my job to try to save those people. That was the mistake I was making. I'm supposed to speak to the educated, spiritually awake women. The thing that disturbed me about this mass event that happened from an astrological perspective, and then we were all given this download, what's going to happen now is in the next couple of years, everyone is going to form these super niche tribe communities, and they're going to go back to speaking certain languages. And everyone else is going to have this illusion of information because there's a lot of information out there. It's all crap. It's all crap. It's regurgitated crap. There is going to be more confusion than ever for the masses, but the people that are open to hearing spiritual truth in these little subset communities, they're the ones that are going to go into the future. Their DNA is going to evolve into the future. And from a human perspective, that's hard to swallow. Even for me as a spiritual teacher, as someone that's always done what God has told me to do, it's hard to swallow. And I've decided that I'm going to launch a series of English videos before I completely transition. If that's what God wants me to do, is completely transition to Urdu and speak to the Eastern community, then I will do that. But I'm going to send out the final structure coded spiritual transmission and see how it's received. Here's what I want you to realize. I've got my notes over here. Let me see. The spiritually weak, those are the ones that the devil, the opponent, he hooks on. They take on information, even good information, and they code it, they channel it through their low consciousness. But even if you are an educated woman, even if you are a modern woman, even if you are a spiritual woman of God, there is this human coding in all of us, and it's called mirror neurons. So when you are listening to content, hanging out with low consciousness people that are pitting you against men, you start taking that on. You start forgetting who you are. And these people will end your bloodline. They're going to end your future. They are literally being canceled right now. Like nature is canceling them. And the worst thing that can happen to you is they will take you down with them. I had this really scary, like back-to-back experience, and I was like, oh my gosh, where Eastern women, educated women, spiritual women were saying certain things to me about men that were raised in good families. They got good information. They had good fathers, good mothers. And I said, what kind of content have you been watching on YouTube? And they said, well, you stopped talking about relationships. So I started watching about this, and this, and TikTok and these things. And basically, they started watching escorting and prostitution content. And even though they know better, even though they come from good families, they have, in my culture, there's a thing, there's this concept, if you're Pakistani or Indian, you're going to know what this means. Khandani log. They're Khandani log. They're Khandani people. But because what they're listening to sounds like me, because those people got bits and pieces of my background, like DNA work, and then they're channeling it through the bodies of prostitution and escorting. They're like, well, Mina's not talking about relationships anymore. This person sounds like Mina somewhat. Let me listen to them. Without realizing that they're now mirroring escorting content. Suddenly, they hate men. Suddenly, they're saying things like, men are bad. Men are this. And a couple of them, I said, did this actually happen to you? They changed the topic. Hey, did this actually happen to you? Well, no, no. Okay. Okay. Did you actually see this happening? Well, no, but like on TikTok, did you actually see this happening? No. Said, what did you learn at university? And all of a sudden, it's like parts of them that was mirroring this escorting content started coming back online as I'm having a conversation with them. And they're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Because we cannot forget that even though we are spiritual technology, we are coded in human DNA. We are on this planet in a human vehicle. And this human vehicle has certain limitations. It has certain ways of functioning. So if you spend time listening to lower consciousness content and hanging out with lower consciousness people, you start mirroring that even if you are Khandani, even if you are spiritually educated, academically intelligent, you start mimicking that. And all of a sudden, you're so confused about relationships and motherhood in your future and your desires. Another thing that I've been noticing is, and again, that's coming from the lower consciousness people. These are the people that the devil contacts first because they're low consciousness. They have less God in them. They're functioning more as animal. It's easy for the devil to take control of them and through them take control of you and mess with your head. You are spiritual technology encoded in human DNA. When triggered, you will go back to the human DNA. You will always go back to the human DNA when you are not plugged into the 99 realm. So what they will do is they will confuse you. I have had so many brilliant, amazing women, some of them in Kainat, like amazing, intelligent women, saying like, oh, but I don't have any like perfect examples of marriage. Why do you need a perfect example of marriage for you to get married if you desire to get married? Why do you need a guarantee? I get it. I wanted role models too. I had role models. But do you think that I psychoanalyze their relationship and like, aha, he said this to her that one time, so that means their relationship isn't that good. I can't get married now. I guess I'm doomed. I'll just go back to making some money. No, but that's how they get you. They're not embodied in anything. They're channeling literally shaitan. They're confused as hell. They're not Khandani log. A lot of these people don't even know where they came from. They have no identity. They're empty. They're spiritually bankrupt. And then the people that do come online and dare to share this message that are Khandani log, they have identities. They know who they are. They're plugged into their spiritual technology. They'll poke fingers at them and say, oh, but look, their relationship isn't perfect. Look, her husband sneezed funny. Look at the sandals that they're wearing. Remember that one time she said that? Is that what is required? Someone needs to guarantee marriage for you? The one thing we've always been doing from the animal perspective and the spiritual, all religious scripture talk about marriage and divine union and men and women coexisting together and working together. And suddenly, all men are bad and suddenly we're not getting along. Where do you think that is coming from? Hindu scripture, Islamic scripture, Christianity, Judaism, where every spiritual text. Okay, you don't believe in religion? Let's look at the animal kingdom. They seem to be getting along fine with the opposite gender. And then they say, oh, well, gender doesn't even exist. So this is for the people that are mirroring these really low consciousness concepts. And this is a coded message for you to wake up. Wake up. Because what's happening now is all of the spiritual teachers, they're going to start switching codes. They're going to start using different languages to speak to the people that are willing to listen and hear. And all you're going to have left, if you don't wake up to this truth, is garbage. It's garbage. I want to talk about another experience I recently had. This is so funny. Like, this is funny to me because it's like it was right under my nose and I couldn't even see it. So, about a year ago, I started using ChatGPT to write my titles. I had never any problems writing my own titles on YouTube. In fact, my titles used to get millions of views. Like, I was doing fabulous on my own. But I'm like, let me give this AI thing a chance. And so I would tell it the topic, like I would voice note it, my whole topic. Alina makes fun of me because she thinks I'm too polite to it. And I say please and thank you. That's a whole another chapter. But so I would say, This is what my topic is. Can you give me like 10 SEO coded titles? And what was really interesting is it would start arguing with me. It was telling me, you can't say that. People are going to freak out. Like, that's politically incorrect. It would try to get me to water down my message instead of just giving me the titles. And I started using its titles. And I feel like even though everything else was mine, my voice, everything, because it was trying to water down my message, everything got watered down. And I was thinking about the people that are using ChatGPT. I don't have anything against AI. I think it's just mimicking the cute, like the logical obsession that we have with the masculine plane right now. It's just mimicking that. But it was really interesting to me because I'm like, oh my God, it's designed to water us down even further. And I feel like when I started using that, my videos got the least views. Isn't that interesting? So what's going to happen is as spiritual people that are awake outside of the matrix, as we code switch, as we start using different language, whether it's like an actual switch of a language or just a coded switch, most people are going to be just receiving garbage and watered down truth. They're not actually going to receive the thing that is needed for the next generation, the next DNA upgrade, the survival of the fittest. Once I started speaking in my own language, I started that YouTube channel, I felt this huge relief. My voice came unblocked. I felt most at ease, even especially like some of my Pakistani Indian subscribers, I told them about that channel. They went and they subscribed. They were like, "Oh my God, you feel totally at peace." I'm like, "Yeah, because the American culture, it's so oppressed. You can't say anything. You can't say anything. Women are so oppressed over here. We're gonna have to go back to our roots." And at this point, one of the things that's happening is the Eastern culture is trying to mimic the Western culture. There's this huge scandal going on in Pakistan right now. Oh my gosh, I was mortified when I saw it. Basically, Pakistanis, they knew they could not do this in Pakistan, so they went to Turkey to do this, but they have launched this dating reality show that's supposed to mimic what is it, Love Island? One of those like dating shows. And I'm mortified. I'm mortified because this is going to be the downfall of our culture. It's going to be the downfall of our culture. We're now trying, and here's my question. I'm gonna make a whole video on this on my Urdu channel, but my question is, I'm not an overly, like, I'm not a religious scholar. I'm not going to give you, people are making tons of content about this for it and against it. And the people that are against it typically will give you Islamic scripture and like religious arguments, which I totally understand. Here's my thing. I love results. Why on earth would we take a culture who has really bad results in the relationship space and mimic them? Forget about religion for a second. As much as I love God, let's put that down for a second. As someone who was born in between the two cultures and I've been so blessed that I can take on whichever one I want in whichever domain. I don't have anyone to answer to in that way. I can be Pakistani in the things that work out. I can be American in the things that I get results in. Wouldn't it make sense to follow the cultures for the things that they are successful in? Has dating been so successful in America that we are now going to copy their dating shows? We just watched, did you guys watch Love is Blind? There were zero marriages. There were zero marriages. Like we're like, what the hell just happened here? Right? Is that the culture we're going to try to follow now? So here's my message for you. If you are an educated woman, if you are a spiritual being, whether you believe in religion or not, you know if I'm talking to you, wake up, wake up. Wake up and remember. Remember the truth. It's encoded in you. You have an animal side that mirrors nonsense because we're just designed that way as human animals. Stop listening to content that was never intended for you. You are not a prostitute. You are not an escort. I have coached some powerful women in the last few years that were on the brink of ending perfectly healthy marriages because they were watching accidentally escorting content and thought they could do better. Have we lost our minds? Have we gone insane? What are we doing? What the hell is going on? We thought the internet was going to give us this opportunity, which I know it has for me, to be able to carry my voice and my message and meet people from all over the world. You are the highlight of my experience on social media. You are the highlight of it. It is because of the internet that I had the opportunity to get to know you. Here in this community, in my sub-communities in Kainat, in my courses, in my in-person events, you are the highlight of my social media journey. And it's also being used by the opponent. And he's using other women. Men are not your enemy. It's low consciousness women. It's low consciousness women. Don't let low consciousness women ruin your relationships. Don't let them separate you from God. Remember who you are. Remember where you come from. In this new era, it's going to be the people that have some sort of identity that are going to survive. Our DNA is the one that's going to go into the future. The Christians have woke up to this. The Christians are only speaking to Christians now. The Muslims are only speaking to Muslims. Pakistanis, suddenly even American Pakistanis are suddenly like wanting to move back to Pakistan, only speak to their own people. There is a multiverse being created. And the people that are being confused about their identity, confused about God, confused about their gender, there's no future. Nature is a bitch. I've said this before. No one can cancel you the way that nature can cancel you. In my culture, they call this Allah Miyan ki pitkar. Some of these people cannot be saved. We have to stop speaking to them and we have to remember the truth. You're being confused, you're being misled. I've been feeling the same way about ChatGPT. It waters down every deep message. Yes. Yes. I'm going back to just like all I was using it for was to streamline my thoughts. There's a let me say this actually. A lot of people don't know this. There's AI generated and there's AI assisted. God forbid I would never use AI generated, obviously, because I'm tapped into the 99 realm. That's where I get my downloads from. But I was using AI assisted, and even then it was trying to water down my message. It's like, no, do your job. Do your job. The new Love is Blind season was the worst train wreck I've ever seen. Just throw the whole show in the garbage. Honestly, honestly. I have I actually have like really narrowed down my social media content and consumption. I'm spending more time in an actual like in-person things, as you guys have probably seen from my behind the scenes footage on Instagram and even on this channel and my other Urdu channel. And I am being like a snob when it comes to if you do not perfectly match my personal values, I cannot listen. I need to keep my channel clean and pristine. Because as a projector, especially as a spiritual mentor, the people that have been assigned to me, they need to be able to get my clean channeled codes, my clean transmissions. And I think there was not I think, I know, there was a group of spiritual leaders and teachers that were like massively attacked on the internet at the exact same time. And as we're all coming out of this, we're realizing the ultimate joke is on them. They're being canceled by nature. And anything that's being canceled or killed off fights for its survival, even thought forms, evil, everything. And so they're going to grasp at straws. They're going to try to destroy you. They're going to try to distract you. Remember God, and you will always know the truth. It's such an unfortunate thing that a lot of us had religious trauma growing up. And so we threw away God with the religious dogma. Don't throw away God. God is your identity. Your lineage is your identity. Your language is your identity. Don't forget that. People on the internet that are confused themselves, that haven't healed their trauma, that nature is literally in the process of canceling right now, they don't have anything for you. They're spiritually bankrupt. You need to go back to remembering your roots and your truth. They're going to take you down with them. They're going to confuse you about relationships and motherhood and spirituality. Don't let it confuse you. You know, the women that are the most spiritually strong are also the most happily married, the best mothers are my Pakistani women that I know in real life. They don't even have social media accounts. Thank God. Or if they do, like a lot of my cousins, they watch like only Urdu content. They don't let themselves get distracted. They're like, no, those aren't my people. And so what we think is a good thing that now we can like learn from everyone and it's expanded our field, I'm not sure it's the best thing all the time. You have to be really discerning. That's why educated women is where the future is at because education teaches you how to be discerning, but don't let those mirror neurons mess with you. Even if you think you're watching something for entertainment, it is brainwashing you. Don't watch low consciousness stuff for entertainment. After this season, my husband and I are like, we're not even gonna watch Love is Blind and these kind of shows. They're hot messes. Like, this isn't who we are. There's a huge wave going back to Eastern global South culture, Eastern culture. Yes, Christian. That's why even a lot of women are like moving to Dubai. Because spiritually they might not understand this fully, they might not be able to say it to you. They're waking up to there's some weird kind of matrix, weird distorted stuff going on in the West and they don't want to be a part of it. I know personally really intelligent Pakistani Americans that had amazing jobs and careers and businesses here. They got up and left and moved back to Pakistan. Didn't even make any sense. And they're like, with this all this gender stuff, like we don't want to confuse our kids. We don't want to be a part of this. So we're gonna wake up, be more discerning where you get your information from. I think we all think that, oh, we're above it. Like, oh, I know this is entertainment. You are encoded in a human animal body. And that body, it mirrors and it neutralizes. For example, if you are watching a lot of stuff that's violent, even though you're like, I'm not a violent person, I know this is a movie, your level of what is acceptable for violence changes. I want to talk about, there was a story I wanted to share today, and I saw this play out even in my work massively this year and last year that I want to talk about. When I was 19 years old, I had this amazing corporate job, and it was my third corporate job. And I was really being appreciated by this company and like moved up really quickly. And of course, even though I know I wouldn't have been stayed in corporate forever, I really love that job. And one day I walked into the office and I sensed that something was off energetically. And I saw some of my coworkers, all my female coworkers, they were like whispering and there was this air of gossip. And at first I wasn't involved in it. And slowly I started getting curious. I'm like, what's going on? And one of my colleagues, did you hear what they said to Christian? And I'm like, no, what happened with Christian? It's like all of this like stuff is going on, right? And long story short, in a few weeks, I was 19, very young. They managed to convince me that this company was like all wrong and it was like so bad, even though they're appreciating me. I have nothing going on with me and the company. All my bosses love me. Like everything's good. And I remember this one day I walked into work and my family was like so proud of this job that I had. I loved this job. I was learning so much from it. And I was like a full-time student at this time at Northwestern. They really appreciated that. They worked with my schedule. So I walk in and all the girls are like standing in the corner. And I'm like, what is going on? Right. And they're like, oh my God, did you hear? Da 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 da, all this stuff. And they're like, we're quitting. We're all quitting. This is so horrible. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, just like quit. Like, let's all of us quit. So I said, okay. And I went into the office and I quit. And I went back home. And when I drove into my driveway, my dad was like, you're back home? It's like 10 a.m., right? And I'm like, yeah, I quit. And so a little while later, my mom calls me and she's like, why did you quit? And I told her what happened, right? She was at work. And so we have a conversation, and my mom and dad are like looking at me really like weird. You know that feeling of like they know something you don't know? And I'm like kind of annoyed, like, Mom, you don't get it. They were like being mean. And my mom said, were they mean to you? And I said, well, no, not to me, but to Christian and Catherine. And they kept looking like exchanging glances, but they didn't say anything to me. 6 months later, I found out no one else quit. They all stayed at the job. In fact, they got my job. I was being so appreciated. I was being so celebrated. I got completely sabotaged. They were working with my schedule at Northwestern. In fact, any other job I had after that, no one was willing to work with my schedule the way that they were. It was almost like they were my parents. They wanted me to succeed. Like I remember my boss would be like, people would come in and he would be like, Mina, tell them what university you go to. Tell them, tell them. And he would be so proud as if he was my dad. I got sabotaged. That's what low consciousness women do. So, how does this relate back to what happened with me? So, in 2024, before 2024, let's talk about this. I had these women in my containers. They were writing me glowing reviews. I have video testimonials from them. I have written testimonials from them. I had women that were like, oh my God, because of you, I got off medication. Because of you, I don't have restraining orders against me. Because of you, I got married. I got promoted. I have a six-figure job. I bought a mansion. I had a baby, all of this stuff. And then some low consciousness people started doing that thing that those girls were doing. They started whispering. Some of these girls started listening. All of a sudden, we start receiving threatening emails from these girls that I have glowing video testimonials. Like you can fake written testimonials. How do you fake a video testimonial, right? I'm like, okay, okay. This year, this was in 2024. This year, they started emailing, begging to be let back into my work, saying my marriage is on the brink of ending. I lost my job. I'm back on medication. I got cut off from my family. The same thing that happened to me at 19 happened to them. But a lot of them are not 19. They're in their 30s and their 40s. Mirror neurons. Low consciousness people will see your light. They'll see you evolving. They'll see you manifesting. They'll see you having glowing marriages. A lot of these women completely destroyed their lives. And you know what was really hard for me? I couldn't let them back in. It broke my heart. I cried. You know why? They made one mistake. They attacked my kids. I have one rule. You say anything about me, I'll forgive you. I grew up being criticized and persecuted and all the things. I'm used to it. I'll forgive you. They came after my kids. And when you do that, you're dead to me. And the thing is, they'll be okay. They'll be fine. They've learned their lesson. Just like at 19, that didn't destroy me. I'm glad I learned that lesson early on in my life, that don't learn the low consciousness beliefs and jealousy and envy ruin your life. Can I tell you the scariest part about all this? The women that do this don't know that they're doing it out of jealousy. They don't know that they're under the spell of the devil. They don't know it. They think they are doing right by you. They think they are helping you. They think they are doing the right thing. I coach clients all the time that have healthy marriages, beautiful lives, and they're about to end it because their sister gave them bad advice, or their mom, or their friend. I'm like, tell me a little bit about your friend. Is she married? Is she happy? Where did she learn this from? Well, she's in she was traumatized from her divorce, da 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 da. It's like, hmm. And I'm not questioning that your friend doesn't love you. She does. Your mom loves you. Your sister loves you. But these are not the right people to be guiding you. Actually, I have another story to tell you about this. This is such a big lesson. So, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I always had older friends. For some reason, I always attracted more like mature friends. And so I had a friend, her name was Najma, beautiful, beautiful girl. And unfortunately, she was older than me. She was about, I want to say about 10 years older than me. She had gone through a really nasty divorce. She was Pakistani and Pakistani American, and she had gone through a really nasty divorce. Like, not her fault, like just an abusive situation. Her cousin was getting married. And in my culture, they have this really strict rule that when a girl is getting married, she has like a female team around her. And this female team is supposed to guide her through this transition of going from single to married. Because women in my culture, like we don't sleep with men before marriage, all of that stuff. Like you're a virgin, you don't know about relationships. You receive, you don't know about romantic relationships. You learn all of your things from your other relationships the way it was supposed to be. And so when you're getting married, there's like married women around you that help you. She wanted to be that person for her cousin. But in my culture, a divorced woman and a single woman is not allowed to give you any relationship advice. She cannot be part of your spiritual feminine team when you're getting married. And she really wanted this. And so she was sharing this with me, and I felt bad for her because I knew how much she loved her cousin. And I was like, Najma, just don't worry about it. Like, you can still be there for your cousin in other ways. And I went to her cousin's wedding, and they wouldn't even let her do some of the rituals. There's like rituals that happen. And they were like, no, 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 Najma is divorced. You go sit over there. And I was watching this whole thing. In a strange way, I did feel bad for Najma, but I didn't have any judgments about it. I think because it's just the way that it is. Now, how many of you, be honest, are listening to this and thinking that's wrong? Because let me finish the rest of the story, but I want to hear who feels bad for Najma and thinks that's wrong, that she should have allowed to be on part of that, her cousin's marriage team. Give me your honest thoughts of what's coming up. I'm very curious, and I'll finish that story. Let me see what you guys are saying. I know there's like a huge lag because I'm live streaming through Zoom. Anyone? I won't continue the story. It's a really good story. It gets really better. I do not feel it's wrong. Okay? Okay. I appreciate your honesty. Who else? I agree with it. I've had divorced women give me horrible advice. Okay, let me finish that story. So her cousin got married, and within a year, Najma, my friend, had a proposal. And the proposal was from one of my dad's friends, a lot younger than my dad, obviously, but appropriate for her age. And this man, we knew this man because he was my dad's friend. He really looked up to my dad as a mentor. And the kindest, sweetest. It was almost like everything Najma had gone through, this man was the reward for it, okay? And she got married. This man is like worshiping the ground Najma walks on, treating her so good, like just amazing, like amazing, like just the kind of husband you would want for your friend. And a year later, after Najma got married, so now it's been 2 years since the cousin's marriage. You guys following? Najma and I were talking, and you're not gonna believe what she says to me. She goes, "Thank God they didn't let me be on my cousin's like marriage team." And I said, "What? You were so upset." And she's like, "Thank God." She's like, "I was not in a place to have been anywhere near her when she was getting married at that time." She's like, "I had not healed." And in my culture, they understand energy transfer, and they understand that someone that's still carrying trauma in their on their person, it's like a radiation. What I really appreciated about my friend is she loved her cousin enough to not let her ego, right? But here's the thing, in the Western culture, no one would even admit to that. The fact that she was like, "Thank God." But on the internet, women with so much trauma, so much unhealed energy, don't even know who their dads are, have never been married, or are doing prostitution and escorting, are giving marriage advice, and you're eating it up. What has gotten, what is up with us? Now, when Najma got married, she's happily married. Now she can do all the rituals because they understand that this is a healed woman with a healed vibration. In fact, they rather have someone in a bad relationship give you marriage advice because at least they're married than someone who's not in a relationship because that person will still have better codes for you because they've actually embodied something. But on the internet, anyone can give any advice. Anyone. And just because they sound intelligent, just because they have the right titles and the right thumbnails, people eat that up. And the people who are actually embodied, it's like, "Oh, but but this one thing." Stop looking for proof. Stop looking for a guaranteed. If it's your desire, if that's what God has wanted for you, if that's what we're spiritually and animally coded to do, that's what you're supposed to have. Do not love people. Do not let people that are that they're distracted, they're on the wrong path, they're not connected to God in any way, shape, or form. They have zero embodiment. And then they're poking holes in the people that are embodied. Why are we listening to them? In my culture, they wouldn't be allowed on the stage where the bride is sitting. They wouldn't be allowed on the stage where the bride is sitting. They're giving you advice and you're taking it. You have to be careful out there. I have been quiet this whole year. And then I'm like, I'm gonna give it one last try. I'm telling you, I have an Urdu channel now. I'm gonna go save my people. But I was also born and raised in the United States. These are also my people. And so I'm gonna do a series of transmissions, and those that have the ears to hear will hopefully hear. I think it makes perfect sense, but get why people would think it's wrong. The thing is, as a spiritual person, you have to think of right and wrong from God's perspective, not from the human perspective. That is also a distraction. Because what's right humanly is like being politically correct and da 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 da, right? You can't say this, you can't. In the last year, I think ChatGPT is like, "Who is this crazy bitch? She wants to say all these triggering things. It's always trying to get me to, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. Watch me." I agree with it. I've had divorced women. Oh yeah, I read that one. My grandmother always told me never take advice from anyone you wouldn't trade places with. So it makes sense to me. I understand. Here's the big thing, Danya, that I've noticed is women in my culture, even lower consciousness ones, because there's low consciousness people in every culture. There's a level of honesty within them that I feel is missing in the Western culture. And I'll explain this to you in Urdu on my other channel. I'm not even sure how to say this in English because words are structured energy, and some languages don't even have the appropriate structures to be able to move that energy. And so I'm not going to be able to even say this in English in a way that I feel like would even be received. Let me think. Yeah, I'm not sure that transmission would even come through, but there's a level of honesty there of who they are and where they stand that it doesn't exist in the English language or in the English culture. Like there's no structured energy around it. Let me see. You guys are saying, okay, let me see my notes. I think there was more I wanted to say. Okay. Okay, this is the other thing I wanted to say. The female nervous system is less dense than the male nervous system. And when I say nervous system, I'm talking about the human nervous system and the spiritual nervous system. There's two different nervous systems, right? There's the spiritual nervous system known as the light body. And then there's like the physical nervous system, like medically speaking. Both of them in the female and feminine consciousness is less dense. And so now the way we're posturing, sitting, speaking, doing, working, relating, the female nervous system is becoming more dense. It is. And the denser your nervous system is, the less other people can penetrate your energy. And there's cons and pros to that. The pro is now you're a wall, so no one can like penetrate you. And if you are in trauma and you think you need to protect yourself, it feels like that's a good thing, right? You're like boundaried up. You've got like the Great Wall of China going on, right? You're like a metal suit. The negative of this is, which is a lot, is that downloads can't come in. God can't like send you the upgrades that happen. The neutrinos can't even pass through. Also, the masculine cannot penetrate that. That's when you say, well, there's no good men out there. You don't even, they can't penetrate you. They can't even see you. And so I think that the more you listen to people that haven't healed their own stuff, their own trauma, like their lineage, there's like so much trauma there. It's going to be hard for them to really heal that, especially in the consciousness they're in, unless they really wake up outside the matrix. The more you listen to those people, the more you hang out with them, the more you posture in the masculine, as the denser your nervous system becomes. And when you have a dense nervous system like the masculine, you can get masculine results, but they will always feel capped for you. They will always feel capped. If you feel like, I should be grateful, I have, like, life is good. Like, when you start doing that, I already know that this woman has used her masculine, denser system to get to a certain place, but it's not penetrating as, like, I'm so alive. I feel lit up. I'm turned on with life. Like, opportunities compound and find me, like, in ways that are non-linear. Like non-linear. It's because when God consciousness or education or spiritual intelligence or feminine intelligence, when it's channeled through a dense nervous system, a wall, it's still potent, but it's limited. When the female body opens up, no, this isn't intellectual. It's like an actual light body opening up. That's when you start having non-linear results. That's when you were like on every like dating site, all the stuff, and like you're like, forget all this. You do your work, you open up your body, and the guy comes finds you. Opportunities come find you. Luck finds you. And so there is this thing happening right now where people are finding their identity. When you have your identity, you have your tribe, you have your people. And even among those people, there is no ego. For example, when I was divorced and I had friends and family members getting married, I wouldn't go try to fight to do the ritual. I'm like, no, that's not how it's done. I'm not married, let alone happily married. I'm not going to go on the stage. I'm not going to do the ritual. I'm not going to fight to like give her marriage advice. I have no place. But in the Western culture, it's like everyone gets to have a voice, but it's a faux voice. It's not an educated voice. It's not an embodied voice. There's an illusion of voice. Everyone gets to have a say, but that doesn't mean you should be listening. Just because everyone has a mouth and they use it doesn't mean the words that they are speaking are spiritually coded for you. It doesn't mean their identity coded for you. And I understand why in my culture, it, you know, certain things are left to certain people to talk about. There's a reason for that. And in the Western culture, it's like everyone gets to have a voice. Everyone gets to say. What happens when everyone gets to have a voice is the educated spiritual voices, they back up because they're like, there's too much noise over here. Everyone's screaming to be heard. They back out. And then all the loud, uneducated, unspiritual voices get really loud and crowded. That's what's happening on the internet. This has helped me really see why education is protected. Because on the wrong ears and eyes, for example, all the free trainings that I did on like my DNA work on relationships, that was not meant for everyone to hear. I was wrong for publicly broadcasting that. I should have gatekeeped it. I thought I'm being a good person. Everyone gets have access to this for free. No, because what happened is prostitutes, escorts, they took that information, channeled it through their body, and then suddenly you would have never even listened to them before. You started listening to them as educated spiritual women because there are truths, some truths that they got from me, half truths. But the rest of the stuff that they're teaching you is ruining your life. Now I understand why spiritual truths and education was gate kept. I get it now. It was never meant to be for the masses because the masses cannot metabolize it. In the wrong hands, it's a weapon. I heard China made a rule where no one could speak on topics like education, law, politics unless they are educated in the field. I mean, honestly, they're probably onto something. Because I go to a lot of like fundraising, galas, in-person events, like things like that, and I'm close to like really wealthy, educated, important figures that make important decisions. And I've seen that if someone is not educated on those topics and they start speaking, everyone else backs up because they're not going to put their 2 cents in. That space isn't worthy of them. But on the internet in the West, like we have this thing of like everyone, what is happening right now on the internet? Have you guys read the comments on basically anything? The loudest noise voices are the uneducated people. And when I say uneducated, I mean like spiritually illiterate, academically illiterate, emotionally illiterate. It's like you can't even tell if they're humans. Sometimes people write stuff. I'm like, what, is this a 4-year-old? Is this a bot? Like this cannot be a fully grown adult writing this. And so this whole thing of everyone gets to have a voice, mm, I don't know. maybe, but I don't need to listen to that. I need to keep my channel clean. I have unsubscribed from like pretty much everyone. There's very few people that I look up to that are spiritual teachers in my language. It's like, or like there's some Christian followers, Christian creators too, because those are real Christians or like real Muslims. Like, I'm not talking about people that just use religion as an excuse to spew dogma, like people that are actual believers of God. Then yes. Even on Instagram, the only people I follow are my students because I give them advice on their energy and their work in Kainat, or a few women I met at other masterminds. But even with my own students, when they leave my container, like the time is up, I unfollow them. I had to get over the whole thing of like, oh my God, they're gonna get mad. They're gonna think she only followed me when yes, because I need to keep my channel squeaky clean. Squeaky clean. Because I am still spiritual technology in a human body. And I am a human design projector. I might as well be a reflector. I have so many open centers. You're going to have to be discerning. I am so blessed that I'm in circles with people from all over the world, like even like American founders, Pakistani people that are just like really spiritual, educated, emotionally intelligent, happily married. And I see the difference. They don't give unnecessary advice. They don't like they don't make noise. Like you see the intelligence on them. There's intelligent in every sense of the way, in the way. And when there is a person that gets in, if it's temporary, they shut up and they back down. So when we give everyone a voice, just know that the people that should actually be speaking, they back down. They're not going to try to scream over illiteracy. They're not going to. They're like, okay. My mom used to say this thing to me, and I'm so glad when my mom would, she had this office, and I would, after school, I would go to her office. This is when she was in real estate, but I wasn't in it yet. And I would go hang out at her office. She would have all of her like wealthy friends like coming in and out of the office. And my mom would say, Mina, when so and so is in my office, these were like her really wealthy friends, you don't speak, you listen. These women were happily married. They were like entrepreneurs, successful in every way, beautiful, intelligent. My mom would say, don't talk, listen. You can ask them a question if it's an intelligent question, but don't talk a lot. Best advice she gave me. I do the same thing now. If I'm in that room and I see, oh my God, these people are really powerful and successful, quiet, listen, watch everything. Notice their energy. Notice how they speak, their posture, the words they say, the words they don't say. Read their energy, their spirituality. See how they treat each other. The thing is, the louder and noisier and more garbage the internet gets, more regurgitated crap, the more confused people are going to get, and they're going to speak. They're going to, sorry, speak. They're going to seek out spiritually intelligent people with results. But what the lower consciousness people do immediately is they try to poke holes at their results. Great. You believe that? Go hang out with them and see what happens with your life. The results are in. I have tons of emails now, people trying to DM me, trying to cut back into my world. No, thank you. No, thank you. Go hang out with them. Because you hang out with emotionally, spiritually, academically intelligent people. You hang out with 9 of them, you become the 10th. You hang out with 9 dumbasses, spiritually bankrupt people, academically, like they've done nothing except run their mouth. You hang out with 9 of them, you become the 10th. Either way. Either way. And now the multiverses that will be created on the internet, you're going to have to know your identity really quickly. Literally, like 80% of the people on the internet now are bots. And the thing is, when I've heard this too, I wonder what that actually means, because I was thinking that to mean like actual bots. But even the people that are humans, like there's so many gaps in their consciousness. This is another thing. Oh my God, I'm really going like, they're gonna come after me at this point, but I'm gonna have to say this. So this is why I'm against using therapy talk or spiritual awakening language or hacking the system through psychedelics or whatever the stuff people do. I've never done any of that stuff. And here's why. I just never had the desire for it, which means God doesn't want me to do it. And recently I got my answer. And actually, I'm going to share this with you. So a few years ago, uh, I had some students that actually run those events and things where, you know what I'm talking about? You go to these centers and they do like psychedelics and all this stuff and they have spiritual awakenings. And a few of them asked me, uh, Mina, how come you haven't done any of this? How come you don't do it? And I told them if I can receive the same results, if not better, through God, then I don't need to do that. Right? And they understood. They're my students. They're like, yes. And recently, I got the answer of why God never had me do that. Because I've met people, a lot of them recently, that do that type of stuff. And I've had students that do that kind of stuff too. And here's the major thing I've noticed. There's spiritual gaps and intellectual gaps in their reasoning. And how I can describe this best way is if you tell a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, if you tell them the birds and the bees, but like the actual stuff, not in like kid language, if you tell someone that is not prepared consciously to receive that information, and you're like, sit down, I'm going to tell you how like babies actually come from, and you tell them everything, just because you told them everything doesn't mean it registered the right way. Let me know if you this is understand if you're getting this. Because they didn't go through all the rites of passage and all of the things that were needed in their consciousness, in their brain, in their energetic body to receive that information at the appropriate time for them. You broke the system somehow, right? You like interrupted their process. This is what I've seen with people that are not emotionally intelligent, they're not energetically intelligent, they're not academically intelligent, even if they have degrees, but they haven't gone through certain rites of passage and then they do like these drug induced experiences and they come and then they'll say things to you where you're like, "Oh wow, this is a really spiritually mature person." But then when they have certain conversations with you, you're going to be like, that doesn't sound right. They haven't thought this through. And so what happens is they're experiencing things spiritually that they haven't earned. And that can actually, in my opinion, cause more harm than good. And so if God wanted me to have some kind of psychedelic experience, I'd be able to do it without drugs. Because the way I have embodied something is I've earned it through rites of passage. And because I've earned it through rites of passage, it's manifested in a healthy way in my life and my consciousness. I didn't try to hack something. I didn't try to force a spiritual awakening. I didn't try to know truths God doesn't want me to know yet. And the other thing is, if all of these things change your life, why do they still need to come work with me? Right? Like they're still like, okay, I went to the mountains of Peru and God knows what else, but I'm still not married. I'm da 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 da. Help me. And then I work with them and then they get the results. So the point is that spiritual knowledge, academic knowledge, like all of these things, there's a rite of passage. They need to be earned. Embodiment is really earned. There's no hack. There's no hack for it. And so allow yourself to go through the actual human experience, trying to get like a guarantee of like, guarantee that he's the right guy and then I'm going to get married and then guarantee that there's 10 other couples that got the exact result in the exact way that I want. No, that's not life experience. That's not how it works. Okay, you're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to learn your academic intelligence, feminine intelligence, spiritual, energetic, emotional lessons the way that everyone else learns them through actual living of life. You can't sit in your room isolated watching content that's actually designed for escorts and prostitutes and then think you're going to have a healthy marriage as long as someone just guarantees that he's the right guy. It doesn't work like that. It's never worked like that. The thing that bugs me the most is people with healthy marriages that are listening to this crap content and then thinking, oh, they married the wrong guy. Like that one girl on Love is Blind. She was like, he doesn't earn enough or whatever. Ma'am, he's 28. Okay, he's not even at his peak earning years yet. And secondly, I don't know if you guys noticed that Brazilian girl, she proposed to him before he proposed. And if money is that important to you, why didn't you ask about that first before you propose that you love him? And so this is a lot of gaps in the consciousness that I'm seeing. That's why I work with educated women because in academics, they teach you how to use like actual logical reasoning from both sides of your brain. It's a very important part of being intellectual. Because when you talk to people that have like gathered bits and pieces of information, but they are actually not embodied, they can't have a full discussion with you. There's too many gaps. This is how actually men will get them too. They'll start asking them questions. I don't know if you guys have seen that. You ask enough questions, there's so many holes in their stories because they didn't actually learn that education. They didn't earn and learn it. They just picked it up from here and here and here and here and here and here. They haven't thought it out. They say what, it's like they speak from both sides of their mouth. They say one thing that doesn't match this doesn't match this, it doesn't make sense here. And these are the people that are giving relationship advice and life advice and business advice and confusing the rest of us. Time for discernment. Time for us to really wake up. Questions, comments, what's coming up? Let me see who is texting me. I want to talk to you guys about light body as well. I had a couple of questions. I'm currently enrolling for Light Body, which is my lowering your energetic density in your female body course. And people are saying, is this only for weight? No. This is to activate your newer pathways and your light body. I'm going to drop the link for those of you guys that are being called. Feel free to ask me questions because I got a lot of questions about, is it just for weight loss? You will lose weight because you're lowering the density, your beauty will enhance because you're activating Noor, which means divine light. It's one of the 99 names of God. However, it's actually to lower the density of your body because the female body, the feminine consciousness, is lighter in density. This is why we're more spiritually in tune. This is why we have more access to our emotions. This is why we're so connected to our intuition. This is why we are able to birth life, is because of the lower density in our consciousness. I'm loving this topic. I'm so glad you did this live. Thank you, Christian. And by the way, tomorrow in Kainat, we have our polarity pathway. So you guys are going to be spending the whole day with me and Irfan, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, talking about polarity in marriage, in love, in parenting, with our polarity with God. We have a whole pathway. It's called Polarity Pathway happening tomorrow. Welcome, Sharon. Amazing. Anything else coming up for you guys? Any other question? Let me think what else. So Light Body starts on November 3rd. We're gonna do 2 live sessions in November, and then there's gonna be recorded pre-work and other things as well. And then once we get to December, there's gonna be more live sessions for that. I'm gonna give you guys kind of like the pre-work and things to work on to start opening up those new newer pathways, and that is included in Kainat, by the way. Yes, I'm so excited, Christian. We're going to spend the whole day together tomorrow. Amazing. Any other questions about light body? If you guys bought the Noor Mini Mind, the Divine Noor Mini Mind, then light body is included in that. It's also included for Kainat and all the things bundle. Amazing. I'll open up the chat real quick in case anyone has questions about light body. Or actually, go ahead and put it in the chat afterwards or in the comments. And then I'll be available to answer that afterwards. Yeah. All right, ladies, I'm going to let you guys know. I'll be around a little bit later to answer questions in the comments section for light body. And I'll see my Kainat students tomorrow for our full day of polarity pathways. And yeah, thank you so much for spending the day with me. All right, bye.